Welcome back, everybody. Well, I'm going to be doing an experiment with some finishes today, and I thought I'd bring you along. So I'm going to be using two products I've never used before. These are from Lee Valley, and it's a polymerized tung oil. One is a sealer, see that there, and the other is high luster. Well, then I'm going to apply the sealer to all of these woods, and in 2, 3, 4 minutes, I will wipe off all the excess and then let it dry for 24 hours. Then I'm going to come back and apply the high luster to all of this. And the same process. Let it dry for a little bit, wipe it down thoroughly. And then on the third day, I'm going to be using Skylar Ewing Woodworking Carnauba Wood Finish and Polish. And this is a product that I really, really like. See that there? It's beautiful. So let's get to it. I've already shaken the cans. Yeah, I really don't know what to expect. Oh, it's a beautiful color. Maybe you can see that. Yeah, you can see that just a little bit without spilling. So these are the woods that I use commonly in my shop. Uh, Black walnut, cherry, purple heart, and of course maple. And this is a very watery consistency. It goes on super easy. It's got a nice color. Let's see what it does for the cherry. Okay. Purple heart. Now on day 3, I'm going to treat you to a little surprise. I'm going to have a piece of each of these 4 woods, and I'm just going to use the Carnauba Wood Finish and Polish. So ultimately, I'm wondering, do I really need to go to all the extra steps of using the tung oil? It'd be nice if I didn't have to, but if it's worthwhile, heck, I will. All right, so we'll come back in just a few minutes. We'll wipe this down and take a look. Okay, well, it's been 4 minutes, and let's go ahead and wipe off any excess. I really like how it enhanced the color of the walnut. It looks really sharp. And I also like what it did with the cherry. It darkened the cherry just a little bit. And the purple heart, well, it darkened it a little bit. Well, actually, yeah, it did. Quite a bit, actually. And lastly, the maple. All right. So the cherry looks nice. Yeah, you can see the difference in the coloration. Yeah, that really deepened up that purple heart quite a bit. And lastly, the maple. All right, so the next video, we'll be applying the high luster on this piece here, and we'll see what it does. We're back. Okay, so it's been 24 hours, and the sealer is completely dry, and now we're going to apply the luster. And we're going to keep the sealer just as is here, which is a matte finish. We want to be able to compare that to what's going to happen in these sections here. So let's take a look. I'm going to apply this luster to these guys here. Going to let it sit for about 4 minutes and then wipe off any excess. Now the color again, I hope you can see that. It is gorgeous, very pretty color. So, wow, that really does change the wood tone quite a bit. It
really darkened up that purple heart. I do like the color. Definitely gives it a kind of a rich feel to it. Okay, and then we're going to do this section here. So basically what's going to happen is that tomorrow I'm going to come back in and apply the Carnauba Wood Finish Polish just to this section here. And so that'll give us a comparison about 3 different styles of finishing. All right, I think we got it. So I'll be back in just about 4 minutes and we'll see what it looks like. So I just got this wiped down. I think the finish did a nice job. It gave it a little bit of richness. So if we look at just that here, in fact, if you look at the side angle, you can really get an idea what's going on. So I'm liking how this is proceeding. So we're going to let this dry for 24 hours. We're going to come back with the Carnauba Wood Finish and Polish and see what happens. I'm excited. Well, let's finish up this experiment. It's time to apply the Skylar Ewing Woodworking Carnauba Wood Finish and Polish. It's a beautiful color. So let's see what it does. I'm just going to rub it in nicely, make sure it gets in the grain. This will provide a protective coating as well. Okay. Got a nice even coat. Interesting. Well, I think it gave a nice finish. It definitely added another layer too. Gonna buff off that excess. And let's see if you can see this. So looking at it at an angle, I definitely see a depth of color that we didn't have before. Let me show you this with purple heart. Oh yeah, it's pretty dramatic. So I think that extra step of applying the Carnauba is definitely worthwhile. So I think in wrapping it up, we had the sealer, which gave it a very flat, a matte look to it. Their quote unquote luster is, there's a difference, and it's fairly profound. I wouldn't call it luster, but it gave it a richness. And then definitely the Carnauba wax gave it that extra little bit of pop. Let's see if you can see this with all these. Probably had a smaller impact on the cherry. The purple heart you saw was pretty dramatic. And the maple, it gave it a little bit more richness. So with the darker woods, it definitely had a more dramatic impact. So what will I do in the future? I think for the darker woods especially, I'll go through the entire 3-step process. And I think with just the maple and cherry, I might not even do the sealer. I just might go with the luster in the Carnauba. So the question for me is, do we even need to use the sealer and the luster? Can we go just straight to the Carnauba? Let's find out. If we can save some time in these steps, that'd be a good thing. But if there's a real value add to taking all those steps, well, it's worth it. As woodworkers, we want to create the best looking product. So this is unsealed wood. And we'll be able to compare this real quickly. One of my clients just love Purple Heart. I get a lot of requests for Purple Heart bowls. Okay, let's just wipe off the excess. Start over here. Okay, well, let's compare. Well, I think with the what I'm seeing with the walnut is that it looks very nice in comparison. And granted, this is a different piece of walnut, but in comparison, I don't get quite the depth of character that I got with the other steps. Let's take a look at the cherry. And I would say that that's also similar. I got more depth of character with this than as opposed to just the wax. The Purple Heart, boy, there's not a lot of difference. Yeah, very similar. And then the maple, uh, I think there's a little bit more color pop here by going with all the extra steps. So, well, what would I do? I think that I would probably go ahead and use the two steps and then add the Carnauba Wood Finish and Polish at the end, as opposed to just using the Carnauba. I'm getting a little bit better depth of character, and if that sets my work apart from somebody else, then it's well worth it to me. So there you have it. That's my conclusion. I wonder what your thoughts are. Hey, thanks for following along.